guys, glad you made it to part 2, where we left off in a conversation. Andi was talking about the first dance to her wedding, which was a Subtract song. Let's get straight into it.
I'm so in love with Subtract. I think by now this is my favorite album ever, and I think nothing can ever change that. So it had to be from that album.
Wow,
And
and it can't be
every
as far
time,
from Multiply as it is. Like
yeah,
these,
right?
it's like opposites.
Absolutely, but I really love the emotional part, and you can feel every word in that album, and it's too good to be true. Honestly, I had a lot of expectations for Subtract, and at the
Mm.
same time, I didn't know what to expect. But this album has everything I have ever been looking for. For example, Curtains is also such a nice song. I love listening to that one.
Like you, I was really touched by Subtract, and I was so impressed that he showed us another side of him that he was really hiding before. And we got to have these songs that are so personal to him but now have become so personal to us. Like, for example, you just mentioned Curtains, and for me, every single time that I hear this song, I'm back to that moment when I first heard it. And it came at the right time for me because I was really in a dark time.
Can totally relate to that. I feel you.
Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, I cried listening to Curtains, and obviously it was the light of my days at that time. Like, this song was to my rescue, basically. And Ed doesn't even know about it. And coincidentally, I think he put out Subtract when everyone needed it the most. And so tell me about it. What was it for you? Were you impressed by his honesty?
I agree with you. That album came exactly when we all needed it. I was in a really dark place when that album dropped because one of a really close family member got diagnosed with cancer and was fighting for her life.
Oh.
And it kind of dragged me down. I was in a really bad situation.
Mm.
And that album came, and then there was Vega, and I was so feeling that song and the emotions of Salt Water and Boat, because Boat was so emotional with being like, no matter what's gonna happen, you're gonna get through it because the waves won't break my boat. And when I listened to that song, I started crying out of nowhere, and I still do. This song has a really special place in my
Yeah.
heart.
Plus, we
And
heard it live, like before anyone.
absolutely. When I heard it
Live.
for the first time, we were standing there, barrier arm in arm, all crying, like
How
really,
many
really.
buckets of water did you cry? Like, for
A
me, it was a
hundred,
lot.
probably. We were just crying our eyes out. It was so emotional. And I still love that song. And that good friend I met via Twitter also loves the song Boat. And another good friend of mine, too. And he went to London to that signing session last
Mm,
year.
yeah.
And I'm forever grateful because he took one of the time slots not to take a picture with Ed, but to get the handwriting of Boat. And he made it a present for us free because we all love that song. And oh my God, I could cry again. So he really
Wow.
did that for us, for our friendship. And I got it tattooed on my body now, what he collected from Ed. So I'm always thinking of Ed. I'm thinking of my Sheerio friends. I'm thinking of that moment when I first listened to Boat, and it's always so emotional, and I'm gonna be forever grateful for that. And nothing's gonna change that forever.
That's your biggest present, and that's a memory to treasure for sure. And the fact that you have these absolute friendship with Cheerios and you do these kind of things for each other, that's amazing. By the way, have you met Ed?
Yes, I have. I have in 2019. And that's also again a story, another Sheerio of mine or a good friend kind of pushed me to try my luck on different, competition games and stuff like that, and to not give up and try stuff. And after all, I succeeded. And I made a surprise for a friend back then because she had a hard time and it was her birthday when he played a gig. And I surprised her with that meet and greet. And at the same time, we prepared a basket full of presents and we took some letters from our friends as well who couldn't make it to the meet and greet because it wasn't for everyone. So it was like a group achievement after all. And we put some letters in. And I got so excited to tell that one friend because she didn't know from the beginning. I just told her when I was sure it's gonna happen.
Hmm.
She was over the moon. And I was so happy I could make her happy and that we could create that moment. And it's gonna have a special place in my heart too. So nothing's gonna ever take that away from us. It was super special after all.
Yeah, I bet. But you didn't say how was the meeting? Like, was it so short and you said, okay, hi, here's the basket full of gifts, bye?
No, he took the time. And you know what's crazy about it? Like, we were so nervous at the beginning, and then there was another girl waiting for the meet and greet. And she was so, so kind. And she did meet him before, and she was like, hey, I know that feeling. But trust me, when you go in there, it's not gonna be the world superstar Ed Sheeran. It's just gonna be Ed.
Hmm.
And when I got there, when we entered the room, I totally understood what she meant because I wasn't nervous anymore. It felt more like finding an old friend again, someone who lived in the same road as you, for example,
Oh, wow.
but moved somewhere else. And that feeling of meeting someone again that you really like, that was the feeling when I first saw Ed and when
That's the
he
best.
was coming to us. It was so sweet. He was like a dear friend, like a big brother, something like that. He was so humble, so down to earth. He took the time, he looked at the basket. He was very grateful for that. He was looking at everything, asking questions. We were telling our background stories, why we chose those presents and stuff like that.
Okay, so you have
And
to tell us now the
it's
presents.
really hard because I also don't remember everything, but there were some gummy bears with beer taste
Oh.
in a beer glass, which was very funny. We had different sweets in the album colors. There was a candle with sherry scent, pun
Hmm.
intended, with sherry. We had, those small ducklings that you can take with you when you're having a bath. We found some in green, in blue, and in orange, which were the album colors back then. So we had
Yeah.
like 3 ducklings in there as well. And we had lots and lots and lots of chocolate and the letters. So we were explaining some stuff about our friends and about the letters as well. He asked questions. He was so interested in our stories and our thoughts. And this was so, so sweet. Something I will never forget because it was really, really humble and sweet.
That's what everyone says. And usually I ask them, like, was Ed what you expected him to be? Like, and they're like, of course.
What's even better than that, I could have never imagined that he's so, so sweet. I mean, we all know that he's cute and friendly and that he's paying attention to his fans, but this was something else. Like, I had some expectations, of course, because it's like, oh my God, I'm gonna meet Ed Sheeran, the guy I was hoping to meet for such a long time. And it was everything I could ask for. I mean, it has been in 2019, so some time has passed, but I'm still thinking of that moment as it was yesterday or last week.
Is it your favorite Ed memory? Like, if you would have to pick your best memory?
Oh my God, I think my. Does it have to be with Ed or
No, no, no,
related
no.
to Ed?
Just related to Ed. Part of your Sheerio story.
Okay. See, there's that one moment. Some friends and I were traveling to Ireland for his shows. So we were like 4 or 5 people traveling to some gigs. And we also have a group and we really became connected. They were also part of the wedding. Um,
Okay.
and all of a sudden, we came up with the idea, hey, let's get a tattoo with the album signs.
Mm.
And then we were in Cork and we did that spontaneously. It was the first tattoo I ever got. And I was so, so nervous. They were all laughing about me because I got crazy. I was like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna throw up. Oh my God, what my parents are gonna think about it. I was so nervous. And then we were like, you know what? The plus is standing for one person, the multiply for another one, and so on.
Okay.
And we all got that tattooed. And then we went the next day to the Cork gig and we were queuing. And then Chris showed up and we were talking to him and we were like, hey, we have to show you something. And then we showed him the tattoo and explained our background story. And
Yeah.
then he was like, you guys need a group name. And we were
Yeah.
like, well, we don't have a group name. And he was like, I have one for you. You're the
Oh.
Tat team. For tattoo team, Ed's Tat team, because you have Ed tattoos, you know. And he took a picture of us all showing that album signs.
Yeah.
And he took that picture to Ed, and later he came back and was like, I showed that to Ed, and he really loved it. And we were so crazy about it. And
What?
since then, we're Ed's Ted team, and we're gonna keep that forever. It's like our friendship. Um,
What?
and that's probably the most special moment ever because I mean, it's under our skin forever, but it's also a nice memory and it's so cute. And it reminds me of that adventure we had in Ireland, but it also reminds me of the whole friendship. And honestly, every time when I'm feeling down or when I'm having like a hard time, I
Mm.
look at that tattoo, it reminds me of our good time and stuff like that, and it always makes me feel better. So that's a really strong connection with those friends for sure.
Wow. That's a lot. I mean, it means Ed is so part of your life that he's your happy place, and the Cheerios you've met are now like part of your family, and they mean something even marked on your body.
They got under my skin.
I'm so glad I've asked you that question because that story is incredible, and even Ed knows about it. I don't know if he would remember, but maybe. Like one day, if you meet him again, you can ask him, "Oh, does Ed's tag team rings a bell?"
Yeah. Yeah, I like the name of being at team, so we kept that. Our group chat is named like that. And it's a really fun story, so we always like to remind ourselves about it.
Okay, well, shout out to the Edstad team. We had the GOAT team before, now it's the Edstad team.
Oh yeah, I know that team too, though. So teams get connected.
The point is to unite Cheerios. So teams are for fun, but at the end, we're all the Cheerio family.
Actually, there's a fun story in New York
Mm,
where I went last year with some friends. Like we were one group, and then there was another group of Cheerios we all know.
mm.
And during some lyrics, I think one was probably blow, and then maybe stuff like don't or sing.
Okay, so the loud ones at least.
Yes, but it was so so funny because we were screaming at each other across the barrier between other fans because we knew each other and it was like a feeling of connection. And that's what I love about the gigs. I mean, yes, you can have your groups, your squads, but at concerts, those squads can connect with each other, and then you have a bigger group of people. The bigger the group, the bigger the party. And that
Yeah,
was
of
so
course.
nice at the Autumn Variation gig. After the gig, I met so many people I know and love. It was like a big, big, big family reunion. Like, oh my God, you're here. Yeah, you're here. How have you been? Haven't talked to you in a while. And it was so heartwarming to see all those lovely people, lovely faces you've met along the way, all in
Mm,
one place. It was like, so, so good for my soul. And I love to remember that night because we've all got connected. Like music and Ed is connecting people for sure.
that's amazing. That's so beautiful. And actually, you know what? I think part of the fact that I actually ended up making the podcast is that I had the occasion to see how strong the Sheerio family was to be all reunited in London for these autumn variation gigs. Because like for me it was different. I didn't know anyone and I didn't meet anyone, but I could see that so many people were gathering, having parties, and they really took all the experience in. It was like not only Ed's gigs but the Egg weekend. It was the whole thing.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I agree.
So part of me was like, I'm wondering where all these people are from and how did they connect and stuff like that. And after a while, like, I don't think I was thinking about a podcast then, but maybe like this whole thing fed the idea. And I was like, okay, I guess like a podcast could work because there are some things to talk about and I don't want each episode to be boring and to be talking about the same things. And I think there are some subjects. So talks are endless and the countries and each fans are so different and everyone has their own thing. And I realized all that and I was like, okay, I think a podcast could work then.
Really glad that you figured this one out and you started like yeah, you did the start of doing podcast. So when I first found you on Instagram, I was like, oh my God, what a great idea. I would like to be part of this project because I always support fan projects as good as I can. I think that's always super nice
Thank you.
to support fan projects because, people spend time and energy and like a lot of heart into their work to do that. So
For
I'm always
sure.
up for projects. Doesn't matter if it's a video, if it's writing some texts, if it's the podcast, if it's a project during the concert, like, I don't know, having a different color on your phone
Yeah,
or do something. I
exactly.
always love that, and I love to participate in everything
Mm-hmm.
because it does make a change, I think, also for Ed if he's seeing what he's getting back from us. It's like so important for him to get the feedback what his music or just his personality is doing to us and
Yeah.
what it means to us. I think it's so nice for him to see that too. So I'm always happy to support any kind of projects actually.
Yeah. Well, for the podcast, it's not really about that. It's not really about showing Ed anything. I think it's mainly connecting the fans and get to know everyone. Like, what's the difference? Being able to compare what it's like to be a shearer from different part of the world. And that's so crazy to me that I get to speak to so many different shearers from like different continents. First of all,
And
that's
I love
crazy.
I love hearing about different Cheerios from different countries all over the world. So I really
Exactly
enjoyed,
right. We always learn new stuff.
yeah, like I enjoyed listening to how it is in Taiwan, for example, how things might be completely different from what I know from Germany, for example. So
Yeah,
it's always nice to catch up on new things and at the same time also be like, hey, she's having the same feeling as I have, which is
yeah.
nice too, to know you're not the only one having this association, for example. So, really glad that you started this project. Really interesting and very nice to hear different stories as well.
Well, thank you. And the second part was, like you said, the fan base sometimes is very active and creative as well. And I was seeing all these many different projects. Like some of them were happening in groups at shows, stuff like that. Some of them were like big ideas carrying themselves by one Sheerio. And I was like, okay, so maybe the podcast is also helping highlighting those projects and those creative who are doing so much work for the fan base that no one really is knowing about. So I wanted to kind of help communicate all that. Yeah.
I'm gonna listen to more podcast episodes as they're gonna come in the future
Mm-hmm.
to be informed about other projects. So, looking forward to that.
Exactly. Like you said, Germany is very different from other countries. So, what would you say are the particularities about Germany and specifically in Munich? Because that's the closest city where you go to concert to, you said.
Exactly.
Can you tell me, for example, if you went to a concert in Munich, what would happen? Like, what's the drill? What can you say?
That's a very good question. So one thing for sure, Germans are really quiet when they have to be. So he's always mentioning that he can play the more slow playing songs like Tenerife Sea, where you have to be quiet.
Hmm.
And that's what I really like about it. So that Germans can get quiet. There's no one screaming or taking the opportunity that no one is screaming right now to be like, oh, yes, now I'm gonna scream, I love Ed. No, in Germany, we're quiet, and that's really nice.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell, in Germany, it's quite extreme regarding queuing compared to others.
In what sense?
So people are often turning up very, very early, especially in Munich.
Oh.
When we were there in 2022, exactly, we came around 5 a.m., 4:30 a.m. to check the situation. And we were already number 10 to 20, something like that. And
Mm-hmm.
we were like, oh my God, it's super early and there are already so many people. Whereas in Cork, for example, we came super early because we were afraid that that might happen again, something like that. And we were the first ones, and no one came until around lunchtime. And we
What?
were sitting there for hours. We're like, oh my God, we're so stupid. Why did we do that? Um, so it can be so, so different.
Yeah.
Um, and one thing special about Munich is that the entrance is always messy, which is a bad thing. So I would recommend taking seats for Munich because it's
Oh,
always chaotic.
why
But
so?
the nice thing, oh, they are promising you something to be like, yeah, you're gonna enter first, and then last minute security is deciding to do it differently. And we were always arguing during that queuing situation in 2022. So it was really hard and very disappointing. And the good thing was that we, as a group of Sheerios who knew each other, were holding together. Like you had that strong feeling of connection. And we ended up being together, luckily, even though the entrance was a mess, just because we helped each other and you knew exactly that you can always rely on
Hmm.
other Cheerios. And this was such a nice feeling, even though the entry was completely messed up.
See, that's a good thing because even in other countries, the fact that everyone is queuing, everyone is coming so early, maybe it's too hot, maybe it's cold, whether like the people are getting tired or frustrated, I feel like it can always be chaotic and competitive
True.
when
That's
everyone's
true.
trying to be front row. So to have a fan base who is supportive of each other and considering the wellness of each other is really not to take lightly. It's like the most beautiful thing.
Yes, I agree. And everyone is so thoughtful with each other. Like, I had so many situations where people that I didn't know were offering me stuff, being like, hey, you can sit with us. Do you want, I don't know, some snacks? Just suit yourself. They were always so
Oh,
welcoming. And that's between fans that really are fans. And I
hmm.
think that makes it easy to distinguish between, people that are just coming for the gig to be like, hey, I've seen Ed Sheeran, to kind of have a trophy of being like, hey, I've been to an Ed concert.
Yeah, the people going on a night out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, versus real fans. And I had that on multiple gigs, that those fans that come early and really are passionate about it. that they help each other and have each other's backs, and also be like, hey, I'm gonna take care of your stuff while we go and grab some food and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I love that. It's just the nicest feeling ever.
Yeah, that's beautiful moments that you can rely on other shearers, even if they are strangers. And if you've never been to a concert before, know that if you want to go alone, it's possible, and you probably won't leave alone.
Absolutely. And you can always reach out on social media. That's what I did, asking if someone's coming. And I have the feeling that this community will always reply or, forward the request until you find someone. And that's the nice thing. You never have to be alone. Like Ed saying, photograph, you won't ever be alone. And that's just the truth. And
Mhm.
that makes it so nice. And that's one of the things I love about the stadium gigs. During photograph, where everyone is just arm in arm with each other, moving from left to right, like that's so,
Yeah.
so emotional. And you have that connection, like no matter who you are, if I just met you today or if we've known each other for 5 years, we're connected at that moment. And that's so nice as if everyone is taking part. That's
Hmm.
oh, it's so beautiful.
Very. We talked about the best memories, but do you have some bad memories?
Let me think of it. So I was very frustrated in Munich for the first night because I was coming very early with my friends. And during entry, I kind of lost everyone. I almost fell down the stairs because you have to go down a lot of stairs to reach the platform where the stage is.
Hmm?
So I almost fell. Then security was super messed up and I got really squeezed in and people were pushing and people were screaming and I almost got a panic attack. And
What?
yeah, it
That's
was
in
super
Germany?
messed up. Yeah, it was in Germany. Unfortunately, I've never seen that before because usually Munich was quite good in the past with entrance and security, but this time it was so messed up, unfortunately. But my friend saved me in the end and I could reach them. Unfortunately, I was not in front row, but like second row, but we were together and like my friends were comforting me, so I was feeling better very soon. And it was a good night after all. So, yeah.
When you see Ed on stage, like everything that you went through before goes through the door. You don't even think about it anymore, right?
I was very frustrated and sad about it. But after, like one, two songs, my friends cheered me up again and I forgot about it and I had a good time in the end. So,
I'm glad you did.
yeah, you have to forget about the negative stuff. It
Yeah.
would be a waste to have a bad connection to the gig because you would regret it after all.
That's such a beautiful story you just told us. And I love how important your serial friends are to you and how important Ed is in your life, like we said in the previous episodes.
Yeah, right. He's part of our personality, and even my friends are like, yeah, she's the Ed Sheeran girl. So it's always connected with my personality somehow.
It's a label. Now it's a label, yeah. Some of my friends always ask me, like, how's your ginger guy?
Oh my God, I know that feeling. Like my mom even once called me Ed Sheerina just to make fun of me and my love for Ed. And she was like, Ed Sheerina, do you have time? I don't know, dinner's ready because I was always listening to Ed. So yeah, everyone knows that I'm obsessed, kinda. But in a good way, of course.
Amazing. Well, now to see how obsessed with Ed you are, I have a question to ask you, but it's not my question. It's the question another fan left for you. And after you answer this question, I'm gonna ask you to leave a question for my next guest. Okay?
Okay, let's go.
So the question that was left for you is, in the music industry, who is your favorite artist or person in general that Ed worked with? It can be a collaboration, it can be a songwriter, a producer, like just a person who was in Ed's circle and worked with Ed at some point.
Oh, wow, that's a really nice question. I love that. My answer is Taylor Swift for sure.
Oh,
Why? Because I've always been a really, really big Taylor Swift fan from the beginning. Like I was in fifth grade, starting to listening to Taylor Swift,
okay.
and she was the initial reason why I started playing guitar. Then I had a bad guitar teacher, and I quit. But yeah, she was the
Oh,
first reason, and Ed was the one why I started again. So there's again the connection. So it's really funny, and she's still on my list of artists who I really want to see live. And I have tickets for this year, and it's one of my biggest dreams come true, actually. And
okay.
I would probably pass out if I would ever see them perform together. For
Mm-hmm.
example,
About that,
Run. Yeah.
have you heard episode 3 with Darcy when she talked about the lunch she had with Ed and some of the things Ed revealed?
Not yet, unfortunately. I just made it to the first part of her episode, so that's still missing.
Oh no! Should I spoil you?
You can.
So basically, he's coming to perform with her on one of her shows this year because she's going on tour, right?
Yeah.
And probably the show is gonna be on a Thursday.
Okay, and what did you figure out?
And there are more than one shows on a Thursday. So we can't really tell which one, but my bet is for a Wembley show. I don't know.
I also would have guessed the Wembley show because it's the easiest for Ed, but unfortunately, I don't have a Wembley ticket.
Well, you can work on that if it's your dream to see them on stage together. That's
I would
maybe
probably
the way.
die if I would see them together. I would just pass out of excitement. Like a little girl inside my head would go crazy about
So
it.
would you say you're a Swiftie?
Like not 100% because I'm not into all albums. Sorry about that for everyone who's a Swiftie and listening.
You're like a fan of any time they collaborate together, basically.
Definitely. And I do like Taylor Swift and her music and her work. So I am a fan, but I'm not like a super fan as I am of Ed's. But I love them both. And
Okay, your answer to the question is Taylor Swift. And what is the best moment you could think of their collaboration?
I really like the song Run.
Okay.
The other one, Everything Has Changed.
Mm-hmm.
That one too. And I love their friendship. That's what I really like about them. Like they're meeting up, they're being all smiley and being friends and meeting up and stuff like that and supporting each other. Funny that I now remember, like a few days ago, I've seen a video which must been a few years ago, but once when she was performing, Ed was hidden on the stage too. He was in disguise as one of the background dancers.
Yeah.
And she was so amazed when she realized that it's him. And
He had like this clown makeup too.
yes, yes, exactly. It was so hilarious. I love it.
Like he committed to the bit.
Absolutely. That's so Ed. He loves doing funny stuff. So, yeah.
For sure. And now I'm going to ask you to leave a question for one of my next guests, please.
Okay, there we go. If you could spend one day together with Ed, what would you do and why? Because I'm really curious what fans would do if they could spend some more time with Ed in person. So looking forward to the answers.
Hmm, that's really cool. Can you be more specific?
In in my question, I would consider the dream scenario. If you would have, for example, an afternoon together and you could decide what activities you could do on that afternoon, just like the two of you, or if you want to invite some Sheerio friends as well, you're open to that too. And what you would do with Ed for one afternoon if everything would be possible, like what activities, how would your afternoon look like?
Okay, now that's interesting because it's involving an activity and something you're planning on.
Yes, absolutely. So you could plan your afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. So your question is, what would you do on an afternoon with Ed?
Yes, exactly.
I'm looking forward asking that and for you to listen to what the guest will say.
Yes, can't wait.
Amazing. Well, I've loved talking to you. It was so much fun. And feel lucky because I've learned that in Europe, I mean, Germany has a lot of Sheerios. You were the only representative fan of Germany.
Oh my God, I'm feeling honored. Actually, I hope I was good to represent Germany in that case. Yeah, but I really loved it. So thanks again for having me. And I hope everyone who's listening enjoys it as much as I enjoy listening to the other episodes.
Wow, that's lovely. Thank you for everything. And we'll be looking out for the comments to see if the German friends are happy with you.
Yes, so my German friends, don't keep me hanging. I'm counting on you.
Exactly. Thank you again. Bye bye.